A young man is asleep in his room. He begrudgingly gets out of bed. He looks in the mirror and decides to shave. He puts on some pants, buttons his shirt, ties his shoes, puts on a hat, and heads out the back door. My name is Dean Bog, and I'll be serving as your tour guide for this video about LAMP. LAMP stands for the Library of Accessible Media for Pennsylvanians, so although we're here in Pittsburgh, the services are offered statewide. LAMP's users are people who are print disabled, meaning they can't access standard print books. LAMP used to be kind of like a book warehouse where they would ship audiobooks all over the state of Pennsylvania. And they still do ship thousands and thousands of audiobooks every month, but some recent renovations have made the space available to users in a way unlike any other standard library out there. YouTube offers subtitles for people who have trouble hearing, but they don't offer what's known as audio description. I'm not an expert on audio description, but I will try to provide some helpful narration and voiceover. This opening montage has been of me getting dressed and heading out to go see Chris and Doug Hunsinger, two longtime LAMP users. Let's hear from Chris and Doug. This is a shot of Chris Hunsinger getting the mail. Their house is made of gray bricks and it looks kind of like a castle. Chris has found a LAMP book cartridge in the mail. Now we're in their cozy kitchen.
Hey, bring me some cans of something, if you would. I'm looking for the scanner app that I use called SuperSense. And, let's see. Well, this is kind of boring, isn't it? No. Okay, so I've got cans here, and I got to figure out what I'm having for lunch.
Campbell's Junkie Soup, Chipotle Chicken and Corn Chowder, 18.8 ounce can. Directions available.
Well, you know, from a practical perspective, most people think of accessibility as an add-on or a hardship, and it's not. There have been lots of really nice things that have been done for the public in the guise of accessibility. Curb cuts, for example. It's true that somebody in a wheelchair really appreciates them when they cross the street, but so does the person with the baby stroller. When they were going to redesign the library and build it into what it is now, they asked the advisory group, like, does this work for you? And they gave us raised line maps of what things would look like. And the architects, based on Mark Lee's request, sat in on meetings with us and actually got our feedback on even the chairs, like what chair would a guide dog fit under best, you know, that kind of thing. They really did take all of it into consideration.
So much more light in the place. The people with partial vision, I mean, that was something that I would never have thought about myself. I want to sit there some afternoon on a sunny day in one of those window areas and just read a book and fall asleep in the sun. I mean, that just sounds like the best way to sit at a library, you know?
If you're listening to this video more than you are watching it, whenever you're hearing my voice, the visual is just a shot of me somewhere around Pittsburgh talking to the camera. I typically cut to a new visual every sentence or so. So right now, this is a shot of me walking down busy Baum Boulevard. Now I'm walking into LAMP. Now I'm inside of LAMP, bothering Mark Lee. Now I'm sitting next to the 3D printer, which is a great tool for making these little tactile objects. And now I'm standing in the back of LAMP over by the little historical display. I love Chris and Doug's point about good accessible design benefiting everyone. And I think the most relevant example of this is the audiobook itself. This here behind me is a talking book. It was developed in the 1930s, and it allowed folks who are blind to listen to books. Fast forward to today, and I don't think I know a single person who hasn't listened to an audiobook. I think a lot of people even prefer them over traditional reading.
Okay, we're going to go back, Joyce. I'm just going to ask you, we're almost done. We're on page 360. This is the next to the last chapter. We are rolling. Let's go ahead with the Three Rivers soundtrack in 3, 2, 1.
Prologue. Althea's teeth chattered around a muffled curse as icy sleet from a late December storm. We are recording a book, and we go from beginning to end and everything in between. They are popular books. They give you an opportunity to follow along with the book if you so desire, or you can just listen to it for pleasure. For me, the process starts with choosing the book and reading through it to see if I can feel or identify with a character enough to hear their voice. And then we come in this little booth, and I put on the headphones, and I go there. That's the only way I can say, I go there. But law school supplies had always been a whole new level of backbreaking weight. After finally opening the door, she collapsed inside, stumbling in the dark over a main wet.
My name is Angela Woodard, and I'm a reader advisor here at LAMP. We answer phones Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We get calls from patrons sometimes that just want to talk to somebody who they can have a conversation with about books. I had a patron remark to me that she looks forward to calling LAMP because it's the only time she gets to have an enthusiastic conversation about books and authors. Oh, we've got an incoming call, so excuse me. Good morning, you've reached the Library of Accessible Media, and my name is Angela. How can I help you? Hey, Joe, how are you? I suffered a vision loss and was no longer able to read books, and I felt very isolated, and I felt very angry, and a lot of that wasn't really even on the surface. And I refused audiobooks when it was first offered to me. And then through an occasion where I couldn't access the television, I knew that there was a book player that was available. I was going through a rehab program, and I knew that that was simple to operate, and I, angrily kind of went back and snatched up the book player and put in a cartridge, and I started listening to it, and I hear this through other patrons that call us. It changed my life. And it is literal. It was a literal transformation of my life. My whole attitude shifted. I began to be more optimistic because I had access again to ideas and creativity. And just through listening to that, I felt expanded and connected to the rest of the community and the world at large. And that's why I would say that it's so important.
This footage is from LAMP's grand reopening back in December. It is a packed house. Here is Mark Lee getting interviewed by a news cameraman.
This is a tactile representation of the state of Pennsylvania. Because we're a statewide service, we're going to hang it on the wall so that people who can't see can understand the shape and contours of the topographical state of Pennsylvania.
Mark Lee is opening a large cardboard box.
Well, there's an invoice. That's the shape of Allegheny County. I bet you didn't know that, Dean. When Carnegie Library began to serve people who were blind in 1907, the options were very limited. So in 1934, the Library of Congress started to loan audiobooks on record. They would ship albums of books, records of books, and they would circulate playback equipment. I mean, these were heavy to carry. You can only get like a couple copies at a time because the postman had to haul these things to your door. And then the service changed. It went to cassette in the 60s. And then we went to digital audio, which is just like a flash drive embedded in a cartridge. And now we do multiple titles on a cartridge. So you can get 20 books on a single cartridge or more. And of course we do digital downloads. There's an app you could download through BARD, which stands for Braille and Audio Reading Download. And you have access to 100,000, way over 100,000 titles through the National Library Service. No matter how you come to the service, whether it's through a reading disability like dyslexia, whether it's because you can no longer hold a book or turn its pages, or you're blind or visually disabled, you have macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy, glaucoma, we want to help you to read for life.
This footage is of Holly Dick, another lamp user, using the elevator in her apartment building to go down and check her mail.
I count 3 down from the top to get to the 4th. There is Braille on them, but I guess I just do it. I'm used to counting down 3 to get to 4.
Now she's in the mail room looking for her mailbox.
Aha, the mail already came. A cartridge from Lamp, which comes free of charge through the mail. When I was very young, when I first lost my vision at age 6, I didn't have talking books. I can only remember reading a couple of books because it took me months and months to read the books. I cherish those books because it took me so long to read them. But in those days, they made a differentiation between people who were blind and people who were partially sighted. Nobody looked at the continuum of vision loss. You were either or. And our superintendent of schools said I wasn't I was partially sighted, not blind. So when I came home from the school for the blind, they said, don't utilize the Braille. You don't need it. You're not blind. So I stopped using it, which was probably the worst mistake I ever made in my life. And I didn't take up the Braille again until I was probably 50. Alexa, what are my appointments for today?
Today, there is one event remaining. At 1 p.m., there's Lamp Book Club.
Thank you.
Certainly. My pleasure.
Read good morning. Good blank. We wanted to send out the Zoom information one more time before our discuss blank. Topic: virtual book club. Time: April 21st, 2022, 1 p. blank. Join Zoom meeting. Link HTT join Zoom meeting.
This is Bill.
Yeah, there. I knew you'd be here, Bill. You wanted one of these steamy books. So.
Now I'm coming to you from up on the 2nd floor of Lamp, the so-called book warehouse section. It is a massive space with long shelves that are filled to the brim with those blue audiobook cartridges and large print books. I think the staff here at Lamp has a healthy dose of the adapt or die mindset. They're a group of folks who really listen to their users and work to provide the most up-to-date solutions. In the words of Brick Tamland, I love Lamp. I love Lamp.
It's really a community is what they've turned it into, and it's a really nice thing.
We get to enjoy using it as both the book warehouse and a place where we can go and feel that it's our library.
First of all, the service is free. We ship books right to your door. We provide materials in accessible format, no matter how you want to access them. But that's just the logistics of it. You get to call here and talk about books. You get to talk to people who are fun, dedicated, and really just want to help you find your next great read, your next favorite book, and help you to read for life.
Reading keeps me, I think, a vital person who's capable of understanding society and interacting positively with it. And I guess I'm happiest reading a book.
For more information and to sign up for the service, please visit the website mylamp.org.